Hi, thank you for joining us at Monica's Cooking today. You're going to cook with Monica, and today it's going to be really simple, but it is one of our favorite go-tos. We are going to make some fresh pesto and serve it with zucchini noodles. And tonight for dinner, we're actually having this alongside of a marinated jalapeno flank steak, so make sure you check out the website for that recipe because it will be delicious. So it's really simple to make pesto, and I know a lot of people get intimidated by it, but you are not going to be. And if you are, just have a glass of wine because it'll all be fine. So what we're first going to start with is some Parmesan cheese. I like the real stuff, so try to avoid the grated, the pre-grated. This is a lot healthier. There's no caking agents on it. There's no added chemicals to it. It's just real whole Parmesan cheese that's been aged. I took about an ounce and a half here, and I just weighed it out really quick, and I rough chopped it. So I'm going to throw these in, and it'll get noisy just for a second, but just kind of pulse it until you get it and that's a good. I just need a kind of a rough chop right now because I don't want to throw everything in it at the same time. Now I'm going to take, there's only 3 of us eating dinner tonight, so it's not a lot of food that we need, especially with the steak. So I'm just taking about a cup of fresh basil, and it has been rinsed and patted dry. You want to make sure you pat dry your basil because you don't want a lot of that extra added water in there because that'll just make your basil or your pesto sauce a little too wet. I took 3 cloves of garlic because we're Italian and we like a lot of garlic. 1/4 cup of pine nuts. I roasted those really quickly too. You can do that in a pan or you can do that right in the oven. But if you do it in a pan, just over medium heat in a non-stick pan, I just throw them in there, a little bit of olive oil sprayed on top, and just kind of move them around, and it just brings out a little bit of that extra nutty sweetness. It's a great step. Try not to miss that. I'm going to do a hefty pinchful of salt. I use the coarse ground salt. A couple cranks of your pepper wheel. And then I put this back on. You want to pulse it a few times, make sure all the leaves are getting combined. Now is a critical point in this. I have about 1/2 cup of olive oil here. It's extra virgin olive oil. It doesn't matter which kind you use. You can certainly use avocado or macadamia nut or even coconut oil if you want. But being Italian, I prefer the extra virgin olive oil. But the key to a good pesto is adding it in really slowly. So I'm going to turn this back on, and I have little slots on top of my blender here. If you're using a food processor, just slowly put it in, and that's just the key. You want to add it slowly while it's running. So we're just gonna do that real quick. Now, the key to adding that slowly, and the reason why you want to do that, is so it doesn't separate. It's the exact same concept if you're making your own mayo. You want to make sure that you're adding that oil slowly so that it's blending in and it's kind of whipping it rather than just stirring it in there. So now I'm going to take, I prefer lime to lemon. I like the little bit of less acidity. And you have to excuse my blinking eye. It appears that I got a little chunk of something that flew up into it. But I take a juice of 1/2 of a lime, put it in there, and just put the top back on. And that's it. We have homemade pesto. It was super easy from the kitchen, and see how delicious it is? So it's nice and green, and you can just put it on top of your meats, fish, pastas. And now we are going to go straight into making our zucchini noodles. If you guys do not have some sort of spiral cutter or a veggetti or a noodle maker, make sure you go ahead and get one. It is so nice. I have washed and taken the tops off of some zucchinis. You can use squash, zucchini, carrots, it doesn't matter. And then you literally pick which side. There's a large side and there's a small side. And then you just start twisting. And as you twist this, you're gonna get these long zucchini noodles. Now I have to make a public service announcement here. Make sure you use this topper, because the very first time I got it, I didn't. And when it got to the end, my finger went inside the blade too. It's not pretty, not fun. So you're just gonna twist all of these. Oh, that didn't work. You're just gonna twist these until it makes a pile full of noodles. And then the easiest thing with that is when you're all done, just take a pan. I usually put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in it and just fry it. And that is it. And you fry it for about 2 to 3 minutes. You want to keep it al dente. If you overcook it, your noodles are going to get pretty soggy, and you certainly don't want that to happen. So just make sure that you kind of keep them al dente. And again, that's done with just being in there for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then you have these piles of noodles just like this. And then all you have to do is, once they've been pan fried for about 2 to 3 minutes, go ahead and add your pesto sauce, or if you're making any other kind of marinara or whatever you'd like, just kind of add it to it, and there you go. 1, 2, go. So now we already have our zucchini noodles. We have a big pile of them. Again, there's 3 of us right now who are eating, so it's just a smaller amount. I would recommend, if you have about 4 or 5 people, make sure you use about 4 or 5, 6 even, because these will shrink down. There's so much water in the zucchini, so it's really going to shrink down. So just be very cognizant of that. I have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up in here. It's been heating on medium-high heat now for about 2 minutes or so. You want to make sure it's really hot. So now I'm just going to take all of these noodles, and I'm just going to kind of, when I do that with them, it evens the oil out. Get those all in there. And I've just got a pair of tongs. Always remember too, just on a side note, most people right now, we have the non-stick pots and pans. When you're using non-stick, you want to make sure that you don't stack them on top of each other, because metal on metal actually strips the non-stick. You also want to make sure that any of the tools that you're using to cook with aren't metal. So don't stick your fork in here, don't take a regular spoon and do anything in it, because then you're actually damaging the bottom of it. And when you damage the bottom of it and it lifts some of that non-stick stuff off of there, it actually can become damaging. And I know they say, you know, everything causes cancer anymore, but that is one of the things that they say causes it. So you just want to take care of your good pots and pans. Also, with all of my pots and pans, I make sure that they're really heavy. They've got a really good weight to them. The bottom has a thick part on it. Actually, if you see here, so these are just the standard pans, but there's a real thick bottom on there. You want to make sure that you have that weight instead of something really light, because it helps distribute the heat evenly to all of your food. So this has been in here now for just about a minute or 2. You don't want too much more than that, because you want it to kind of be al dente. You want the noodle to really hold its shape where it's not too mushy like we were talking about before. One easy thing to do with this, especially if you're preparing for the week ahead, if you're pre-cooking stuff, or even if it's for a dinner party and you're having some friends over, it's totally fine to pre-pan fry these for just about a minute or 2. And you don't even need the oil. I just prefer the flavor of just a little bit of olive oil on there. So now I've been moving these around. They've been in there for about 2 minutes. You can even go a couple minutes longer if you want, but not too much longer. I've got our fresh pesto that we just made, and I am just simply going to dump it in there. Pretty simple. Now I have my pan ready that we're going to serve those in. Doesn't have to be fancy in this household. We prefer just to eat and go. And all you really are doing is smushing this around, get it all saucy, make sure you're getting all the flavors throughout. And the cheese in here will just start to melt a little bit. And initially, you'll probably feel like you're pouring paste into it. And that's kind of when you know you've got the right consistency. If it's more runny than that, chances are you have a little too much oil. Don't worry about it. It'll still taste delicious. Just remember that for next time. And I'm gonna actually have my camera person come closer to see this. And see how delicious this looks? Just like noodles, guys. Go. So as you can see already, from just the few minutes that it's been cooking on here, do you see how it's kind of already minimized? You can see that there's fewer noodles. You can see that some of the water from the zucchini is starting to leach out. And that's okay. The thing to do at this point is I flip it off, and then with your tongs, you're just gonna lift up, kind of let some of that liquid drain down, and put them in your serving dish. At the end, you're gonna have almost kind of like a pesto soup. I always recommend to save that because there's a delicious soup recipe that I use with that. You can save it, use it as some broth, some cooking stuff. It's also really yummy to put in some scrambled eggs. Just don't waste it. That's the point of the story. Also, you have all the good Italian flavors in there. If you let it cool down, you kind of have like a creamy pesto Italian salad dressing. So once you have all of these out of the pan and you save this liquid, you are ready to eat. And it is as simple as that, guys. So top it with any of your favorite meats. Again, we're having it tonight with that jalapeno flank steak. It's going to be delicious and a little spicy. Put it on a salad, kind of do whatever you want. It's cooking, it's fun, don't be scared. And look, guys, we've been in this kitchen maybe 13 minutes. So can't say that I didn't teach you anything. Welcome back again anytime. Always come here. Make sure you like it, share it, post your comments. If you want to see something made the SIBO way or eating clean, whole, healthy paleo, it's our journey together, guys. We're going to do this all together. So make sure you come back and visit and share it with your friends. Have a good night. Enjoy.